ELI 5 Why Google is considered a monopoly. It was my understanding that a monopoly was a company controlling the entire landscape of that thing. But Bing, Yahoo, etc. exist. I'm not arguing for one side or another, I'm just out of the loop. Google has something like a 91% share of the entire search business. That part actually isn't illegal. It's okay for a company to be the dominant player in an industry. If you made three-legged pants, you'd probably be the only one and therefore have 100% of the market share. That doesn't mean you have an illegal monopoly. What is illegal is using your dominant position to actively prevent other people from competing, in ways other than just being better than them. In the recent court decision, the judge ruled that Google was blocking competition by making payments to Apple, Mozilla, and others to make Google the default search option. The judge's name is Amit Mehta. If you hear a news story about this case, know that Mehta has nothing to do with Meta, the parent company of Facebook. Google argues, and will on appeal, that this is not anti-competitive, since you can easily switch the default search option. However, the Justice Department argues that since people rarely switch away from defaults, this is effectively blocking out the competition. Especially on mobile, which is dominated by Apple and Android, and Google is the default on both. Because Google is the dominant player in the search business, they are the dominant player in the search ad business. If you don't like the ad rates or the placements on CBS, you can advertise on NBC. If you don't like the way Google handles ads, you can get fucked, because there's nowhere else to go. Google can make up whatever rules and charge whatever it wants to for ads, because they strangled all the competition in the crib by making themselves the default on every device you use. They're potentially even stopping Apple from developing their own search engine. Why would you, when you get $20 billion a year, not to? And that is what the government has a problem with. What this means in a practical sense is yet to be decided. At the end of the day, probably not much from an ordinary user's perspective.